truth help you be a better person?
So a lot of times thinking that when people think that they have the truth, they're really unaware of how much they don't know. And to have the truth is not really something like, if I'm comparing Kevin Durant and James LeBron, I'm not thinking about whether they have the truth. I'm thinking about whether they can do something, you see? So I think that my problem with Christianity and historically Christianity, I think that we took a wrong turn somewhere in the past, a few hundred years ago, where we started to orient ourselves toward having truth instead of being oriented toward transforming.
So that's basically like evolving your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, right.
If anybody here has Pokemon is a good example.
Okay.
So Eevee, he has 10 different evolutions of himself, I think. Okay. He has water, he has fire and all that. He can change himself, transform himself into the better version of himself.
Yes.
He can evolve.
Yes.
He can also do it at certain moments in time when it's needed.
Yes. That's very interesting. So it makes sense. Yeah. So, I mean, the Bible says, you said evolve your mind, something like that. You said, Paul in the book of Romans says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, which to me sounds very similar. And you're given this example of a Pokemon character who has
the power to evolve himself to
10 different levels of evolution.
Yes, and he can also go back to a different transformation where it's needed.
So, is he capable of that transformation because of the kind of creature he is, or because of something he knows?
It's the type of thing he is, but he has to know when to transform.
That's participatory attunement.
So
when do I do this? Like, I know how to transform, procedural knowing. Then I know when to transform. That's when is it proper for me to participate in the arena in this way?
So really, whenever Flareon, usually Pokemon battles, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Flareon, so Eevee is Flareon with just fire.
Okay.
And he's up against a water thing. His weakness is water.
Okay.
So if he didn't know when to transform, he would just stay at that fire and lose the whole battle.
Yes.
Because that's his weakness. But
so he has to be adaptive to a dynamic environment.
Yeah, so he has to adapt.
Yes.
If he doesn't adapt, you might as well just give up because there's no.
Yeah, absolutely. What about this? What if you're okay? I'm 44. Let's say you're 44 years old and you meet some insurmountable challenge that happens to be your weakness. Do you adapt, or do you just stick to some beliefs that you have in having mode?
You have to adapt.
You have to adapt. That's such a great lesson that I wish I knew when I was 10. I'll tell you that. That's great to know. That's great to know at 10.
Pokemon for the win.
Yeah. There's lessons. So you can learn lessons like that from everything. So once you could say that, like, okay, the Bible has all the truth and I need to get all the truth, but what you just demonstrated to me is that you were able to look at Pokemon and extract something from that you can use for how you can be a more adaptive person.
And with other Pokemon, they evolve too. So let's have an example of Charizard. This is a great example, actually. So it goes. We all start at the same place, right? It goes and somewhere we split up. So it goes Charmander, Charmeleon, and then Charizard, and then it goes Mega Charizard, and then a different version of Mega Charizard.
Okay.
Blue and red, XY.
Okay.
That's both them. But they both split up into different. Just like how the 4 billion people split up in their beliefs.
Okay, so what if it's like this, though? So instead of splitting up in your beliefs, what if What was this character's name? Charizard?
But Charizard, and instead of splitting up in truth and beliefs, he's split up in transformation.
Okay, so let's say that when you're 32, you need to be able to do something that Eevee can do.
Yeah.
But then when you're 38, you need to be able to do something that Charizard can do.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So what you have with the Pokemon lore, which I'm admittedly not extremely familiar with, you have a wealth of examples and scenarios that are played out that you can pick from for the story that matches what you need to be and do in your life. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're admittedly not very familiar with the Bible. I'm admittedly not very familiar with Pokemon, but I will bet you that whatever there is to learn about Pokemon and the Bible, there is a complex pattern replicator, like an abstract pattern replicator, at which point they both converge on the same things. You could say that the Apostle Paul is kind of like a Pokemon, because he starts off as a bad guy who's killing Christians, but he's super religious, and he's following all these rules.
That's kind of like, so there is...
But then he transforms into a good guy who is not killing Christians, who is now preaching charity, a whole chapter on love. And instead of killing Christians, instead of being a rule follower, he's saying all things are lawful for me, but not all things are expedient. So he's completely transformed and adapted. So he's kind of like a Pokemon. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that when you can see the pattern of truth, when you can see the pattern of procedural, perspectival, and participatory appropriateness.
Yeah, so...
You can pick it up from anywhere.